Hello everyone and welcome to the Redmen TV. I'm Steve, joined by Mark Sweatman. You might recognise Mark from our Craftsman of the Cop documentary that we put out a couple of years ago. Mark is responsible for making some of the best banners that you see at Anfield, or have been seeing at Anfield in recent years, as well as European stadiums and basically everywhere across the globe, from Anfield to Qatar and everywhere in between. However, at this moment in time, Mark's banners aren't appearing at Anfield, or a selection of them aren't appearing at Anfield. And Mark's having some problems with Liverpool Football Club, basically, and Mark's coming today to share the story. Basically, I know a lot of people have been asking you, Mark, like, where's your banners? Why haven't we seen this one? Why haven't we seen that one? So can you just explain what's going on? Why aren't your banners at Anfield at the moment?
I wish I could give you a proper explanation, to be honest, Steve, but it's as confusing to me as it is to everybody else. Essentially, what happened was, you may remember last season, I think it was October, there was the whole heightened kind of security operation which was going on around people in different Premier League venues bringing Israel flags or Palestine flags to the game and to express their views over what was going on in that conflict. And as kind of part of that, Liverpool's security operation seemed to be stepped up. And on one occasion, it was the Nottingham Forest home game I forget the date of it, but it was around that time, October-ish. I had some issues on the gate. So I was on my way into the stadium, as I have done for the last 7 years. So I sit in the main stand, upper main stand, hang my banners. If you sit in the Kemlyn Road, you're probably very familiar with them because they'll be directly opposite you in the top tier in the centre, and they hang behind the disabled gantry there, so they're not obstructing any views or anything. They're just they're like as a backdrop to the disabled gantry. And so I've been taking my flags there for as I say, every game for the last 7 years, since that stand opened in 2016. And on this particular occasion, the Nottingham Forest game, when there was all this kind of heightened security going on, as usual, I had to show them what was in my banner bag on my way into the stadium. They normally just put a little ticket round it and say, yeah, that's okay. They know who I am. You know, they've dealt with me lots and lots of times before. And on this one occasion, the steward said, I'm sorry, that can't come in today. I was like, it's a bit confusing. Why not? I had 2 banners with me on that day, and they'd chosen one of them that couldn't come in. It's like, sorry, why not? And they said, we've been told not to allow that one in today because it's a nationalist banner.
It was the Wataru Endo banner, right?
Yeah.
So for those who haven't seen it, we'll put a picture up now for those watching along. But it's Wataru Endo's name, but it incorporates the Japanese flag within it.
Yeah.
And Liverpool said no. So basically, because they wanted to crack down on, they didn't want any conflict between people bringing Israeli or Palestine flags into the stadium all across the Premier League, which in itself is a bit mad because it wasn't long before that Ukrainian flags were allowed. But listen, I understand they were trying to stay out of the middle of that one. Perhaps it's been identified by Liverpool, perhaps that a bando for Wataru Endo is seen as a Japan flag, and it feels like that almost, to me, Mark, from the outside looking in, it just looks like so much red tape. Someone's scared, they don't want to be accused of anything, but it's a Wataru Endo. But if you're not just going in with a Japan flag, you're going in with a banner to celebrate the Japanese flag.
Wataru Endo, and the O is a red circle. That's it.
Yeah.
And he's Japanese. It's celebrating a Japanese player, as you say. Yeah. But they said under no circumstances that flag coming in, and I was trying to argue my case, saying it's got absolutely nothing to do with any conflict that's going on in the world. I said there will be other national flags displayed in the stadium today. There'll be Irish flags, there'll be England flags in the Nottingham Forest end, which there were. There was an Egyptian flag on the Kop. So they'd singled out this particular flag, and they said, for some reason they chose to make an example of it, which was quite bemusing to me. So I was arguing my case, and the steward called over his superior. I won't get into names, but he was in charge of that particular area of the ground. He wasn't a steward himself. He was like he was suited and booted, and he was quite aggressive towards me. You know, he was very, very forthright. He was jabbing his finger and he's saying, "There's absolutely no way." And then it was almost kind of gaslighting me. He was saying, because I was like, what on earth's going on? This is absolutely ridiculous. And he says, "You need to calm down, mate." You know, he's like, as though it was me who was being the problem. So that, you know, my heckles were really up, and I was really, really upset by it. Anyway, he said, I had a choice, basically, give up my banner and pick it up at the end of the game, or miss the game. So obviously I went into the ground and picked it up at the end of the game. I had another banner with me that day, which they let in, no problem. That was my one with the crest of the city on. They almost didn't let that in because they didn't know what the Latin meant, which you know, that shows the general ignorance that was going on, that they didn't understand that was the motto of the city of Liverpool. You know, shows how in touch they were. But anyway, that was that. I picked it up at the end of the game. Now, the next level of problems began because I decided not to take it sitting down. So after the game, when I got home, I was still fuming.
Trying to interrupt you there, Mark, some people might be thinking, I wouldn't just let it go, I suppose, but you know, anyone who's watched the documentary and say the footage is available, you put a lot of work into these things. You know, they're not just it's not a piece, with all due respect, it's not a bed sheet and you drew on it. You know, you hand stitch everything, you put a lot of effort into it. So for them to, you know, there might be people watching all this and going, you know, you could have just forgot about it, but actually no, because that's you know, labour and love, you know, all that kind of stuff. So for you, it means a lot, that banner, and every banner you make means a lot. So I think that's worth mentioning as well.
And it was also the characterization of it, that they said they didn't say it's a national flag. They said it's a nationalist, and that's the absolute opposite of what I am.
You've been characterised as something you don't believe.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm not having that. I'm not going to just sit here and take somebody saying that, you know. So after the game, I went home. I've got a bit of a following on Twitter. It's not enormous, but a few thousand people follow me on Twitter. So I thought, right, I've got a bit of an audience. I can say what I think about this. So I did. And I basically decided I was going to kick up a bit of a fuss about it. So I did. And then it might have been the next day or the day after, I got a phone call from a guy working in fan relations with the club. And he said, we've heard about the problems that you had at the game. First of all, we'd like to apologise. So it's like, oh, that's good, you know, good start. Said, we'd like to apologise for the fact that that the steward used the word nationalist. Your flag wasn't nationalist. So that was something. And then they said, we apologise for the reason that your flag wasn't permitted into the ground, but your flag shouldn't have been permitted into the ground anyway because it's too big. So they permitted the other one in, which is the exact same dimensions, but not that one. So they referred then to their flag and banner policy, which says that banners under 2 meters in width will be permitted to the ground. It doesn't say the banners over 2 meters can't be permitted to the ground. It says that banners under 2 meters will be. So they can give permission.
I mean, with all due respect for those watching there's some banners there.
Well, that's the COP, and that's got the COP does have different rules anyway. Yeah. So this is the main stand we're talking about.
Yeah.
So the COP, larger banners have to have special permission. but they grant that special permission. In this case, they said there's, you can't. We're not permitting that, and they said so from this point onwards, and this has remained the case ever since. You can't bring any flags into the main stand because all your flags are too big.
Okay.
So for 7 years, at every single game, I'd been hanging 2 flags right in the centre of the main stand. And we're talking about permission. From day one, I'd sought permission. So I had a great relationship with the stewards upstairs in the top tier. I'd asked their permission to hang my flags there. They'd radioed through and whatever on the first few occasions and said, "Is this okay?" They'd been told, "Yeah." So I was hanging the flags there. They'd written the chief steward in that little area had taken my name, written all my details in a little book. Every time I brought a new banner along to the game, they were taking the details of it, checking it was okay, giving me the thumbs up, because nothing ever controversial about any of them. They're all just celebration of the football club. So that was what had always been the status quo, and so as I say, their flag policy says if it's under 2 meters, it will be permitted, but it doesn't say you can't have a bigger flag. It just...
You obviously have to get permission. Wait, so you had permission because you've been displaying those banners. That main stand opened in 2016. You've been displaying them up until October 23. No one had ever had an issue. You had the issue with the Endo flag. It's flagged, for lack of a better phrase. It's actually clarified, sorry, but now they've decided it's too big. So that's where the confusion from... Again, I don't know the full details. You explained it to me. They weren't too big until October, and now they're too big.
Yeah, because basically...
Do you think it's because you kicked off?
Yes.
That's your belief, that you kicked off, they're just being a bit arsey?
I'm 100% sure that...
Okay.
Well, from
your opinion.
I mean, if they want to come on your programme and tell you something different, then they can do that. But I firmly believe that that's what happened, is because I had the temerity to go out there and say this is not right, because it's something that I really care about. I mean, some people say, what you're crying about, it's a flag. That's fine, you believe that, but to me, it matters.
Yeah, anyone about that, go and watch it. We'll put the documentary out for free. There'll be a link in the description of whether you're listening to this or watching it. You'll see A, the effort Mark puts into the banners, and B, why Mark goes about doing the banners and how they've helped you in your life. So it's not just a flag, it's everyone's got their passions, and for you these creating these wonderful banners and flags is a passion. I mean, for example, that Endo banner, could you tell us the cost and in terms of monetary and time that you put into that, so people who are going, it's just a flag, just to give some context to that?
Yeah, well, I mean, that one was relatively simple banner, one of me more straightforward designs, but it still would have taken me about 15-16 hours of work.
It's a lot of work, mate. It's a lot of work.
And cost me a couple of £100 in terms of materials, because I use the best.
Yeah.
It said they are like special, or try to make them special anyway. So yeah, that's what I believe, is that they decided to make an example of me and to single me out. So since then, the situation's moved on in some ways, but in other ways it hasn't. So I tried my best to keep in contact with the club. I was speaking to the supporter liaison officer and to the director of, I think she's called the director of fan experience or something like that. I've also been in touch with the director of safety and various other people over those early months. Anyway, I haven't heard that. It's been radio silence in 2024. But they came back to me a week or two later and said, right, the situation is this: the flag and banner policy is what it is. It's not going to change. They said, we will, as a concession, we will fund you to make some replacement banners that fit the dimensions, 2-meter banners, which I wasn't particularly happy about, because it's an awful lot of work, and I was thinking about the hours that would have to put in order to do that. But at the same time, I want to be able to fly banners at the match, and that's all I've ever wanted to do in this situation. So I said, okay, let's do that. And then so I made one, and I started making 2 others that fitted that 2-meter dimension. And then I got a phone call again from this director of fan engagement, or I forget the title, sorry. And she said, I've spoken to the director of safety, and he says that they can't come in either. So
was there a reason given for that, Mark? What was the reason? That because you're now adhering to their policy. I think what happens there, from an outside point of view, they've kind of half-turned a blind eye. Someone at the club is now aware that it's breaking a policy, and they're thinking, well, if something happens, we can't claim that we didn't know, because we did know, so we're going to have to shut it down. However, Mark, you can now have 2-meter banners that fit our policy. You start making them, the money's in, and then someone else comes in and says no. Was there a reason given for that? No.
It was to do with health and safety. That was the
I don't understand that. So what reason, health and safety? What rules is it breaching if you have a 2-meter banner hung in those areas? Was there anything given to you?
No. The one thing that they said was that the policy states 2-meter banners with a pole can be displayed like a flag, you know. That's the only thing that they mentioned. That now, again, it just seems that somebody has decided, nah, we're not having this fellow. He's pushed us too far, and we're not. I mean, I don't know why they would think that.
No, I can't get my head.
Nobody that I've spoken to about it can get their head around it either.
I'll be honest, sorry to interrupt again, Mark. I'm going to say, from an outside point of view, I can imagine the health and safety at the first one going, it's over 2 meters and we've got a policy. If that banner falls on someone or it hurts someone, we're now liable because we've let a banner that goes against our policy. But if the new one goes and adheres to the policy, and it's secured safely, like you always do with your banners hung safely, I can't figure out from my head.
And they're all fire treated. They're all certified as fire treated. You know, that's there's absolutely no safety reason that would prevent them from being there.
Yeah.
The thing in my conversations with them that's really frustrated me as well is they talk about this flag and banner policy as though it's somebody else's policy and not theirs, you know, as though it's being handed down from God to Moses on Mount Sinai, and saying your flags must always be under 2 meters. You know, it's not carved into stone. It's your policy. It's caused a problem.
Fix it.
Yeah. And that's all it takes. Now, there are a few other things that have happened along the way that have caused me even more frustration. So I've tried to open a dialogue with them. So I was in touch with Spirit Shankly. They were helpful. I feel like they were banging their head against a brick wall, and my conversations with them were also kind of they were sporadic, and they seemed to have forgotten what had gone previously by the time I spoke to them. Obviously, this is something that's on my mind a lot. They've got lots of things to deal with. I understand that. But that avenue didn't seem to be getting me anywhere either. I've got, not got a bad word to say about the people there. They tried to help me, but they said they were going to get me meetings with the club. They were going to get me in to talk to them myself. I have met one guy Chris Markey, who's the director of security. But it was a very unsatisfactory meeting in that it happened in a crowded cop bar on a match day. And he basically just said, no go, but we'll look into it in the future. And that was it.
It feels like you're being fobbed off.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it felt like. And then I've heard nothing more from him either. But yeah, it's not really moved on. But I've tried to communicate to the club some suggestions for a way around it. Now, if you actually look around the stadium on a match day, unlike some other stadiums around the Premier League, you don't see many flags hanging up. So obviously the Kop, like you see there, before kickoff, you'll see many flags waved and held up. But around the stadium, there aren't many flags hanging up. There's a couple in the corner of the Kop, but by the Camlin, that's it. And mine up in the top. They said to me, if we allow you to hang your flags, everybody will want to hang them. Well,
what's wrong with that? That's a good thing.
Yeah, well, that's fine. That's one thing. If they're properly fire treated, if they're safe, if they're certified, then there's no problem with that. If they're not obstructing anybody's view, I'd agree with that point of view. But also, nobody has tried in the 7 years that mine have been hanging there. Nobody's played copycat and tried to. Yeah. And if somebody did come and take my spec up there, I'd be more than happy with that. You know, it's like first come, first served in terms of the space on the rail there. But also, if you actually, the reason why there aren't many flags hanging around the stadium, if you sit there and, because obviously since all this has happened, I've been kind of weighing it up quite a lot. If you look at the stadium, there's nowhere for them to hang. There's literally the spec that I have, which is where these rails are in the centre of the main stand. There's those ones by the Kop going up the stairs into the Camlin, and there's nothing else. There's nowhere else for them to stand. So it's not like you're going to get an influx of flags suddenly hanging in random places around the ground, because there are no places for them to hang. So what I suggested was they could just simply designate that as a flag hanging area. They wouldn't have to change anything else in their flag policy. It wouldn't just be for my benefit, but for anybody who did want, like, there's about probably 10 meters of rail there. The people, and I just keep saying it again, but it's not obstructing anybody's view. It's the backdrop to the disabled gantry there.
Yeah.
So I've suggested that, which to me, I think it's a really sensible and logical suggestion. It enable them to put this issue to bed without opening the floodgates, which they seem for some reason to be afraid of. I'd love to see Anfield covered in banners at every available opportunity, but they clearly don't want that. But they have, I sought permission. They've given me permission.
They pay you for it?
For 7 years. And they've I mean, over the years that I've been making banners for other people, since I've been doing it as like a hobby business, the club have been in touch with me on several occasions before all this kicked off, and they've used my work for, like, if you go into the club shop in town in Liverpool 1, they've used recreations of 9 of my banners as the centerpiece of the whole club shop. They commissioned me in 22, in the summer of 22, to make a big banner for the kit launch for the European away kit, and they also borrowed a load of my banners to hang up in the Olympia there as part of the video and the advert for that. The club know me. I say the club.
That's the problem, mate. I was about to say, the club There are so many organisations.
The left arm doesn't know what the right arm.
We get that as well, mate. There's people now with frustrations about tickets, and there's frustrations with a lot of things with Liverpool sometimes, and it's like people see Liverpool as this like one conjoined entity, and everything flows. And actually, when you dig deep, actually, so the fan relations person gives you money and says build a banner, but then the security team says no, and the health and safety team says it's so many things working together, and that's
it's commercial arm. They've loved everything that I've done. They're like, this guy's really he's what we want, because they do sell that. They sell that globally. The idea of our supporter culture being unique among teams in the Premier League. They use that. That's what they sell the club on the back of, and so they've latched on to me at times in the past and said, "You're exactly what we want as part of our football club." And then you've got this other arm of the football club saying, "Do one," and that's what's really it's without over dramatizing it. It's like somebody that you love and you've been in a long-term relationship with, just suddenly turning around and saying, "Don't want you anymore. I never loved you."
Yeah, sure.
That's what
No,
I mean, that is like melodramatic, I know, but that's
it's your passion. Everyone's got their passion. I was going to say the ideal solution, of course, is you get your banners back in the stadium. That's the end goal. That's all you want.
It's all I've ever wanted.
That's all you want. There's no drama involved in that. What do you think? What do you need from Liverpool at the moment? Then what are you after? Because to get to that point, is it just to sit down with someone like this and have a chat and see what he can do? Or what is it you're trying to achieve by? Because like I said, I know you've been busy on social media. We brought you in today to help you explain the course to people who might not get it. And maybe, like I say, fingers crossed, if there's a couple of people who watch or listen to this, you might be able to help. But what do you think you need? Is it just sit down with someone and go, what do I need to do to get my banners back? Is that all you're after at this moment in time?
Yeah. As I say, it's all I've ever. It was up to me, because I'd always sought the correct permissions. I'd asked permission to have my flags there, and it'd always been given. And that's all I've ever wanted to be able to do on a match day. That's my way of supporting the team.
Yep.
And it's been taken away from me. And as some people might say, well, you don't deserve any special treatment. The thing is,
special treatment, is it? You just want to be treated like you were being treated.
Yeah, that's it. I'm not asking for special treatment. I'd asked permission. I had permission, and they've taken it away from me, and that's what's confusing and makes me feel as though it's targeted. Yeah. The other thing that I'd mention is, in the explanations that one of these top safety guys was giving, now this is the guy who's in charge of match day operations at Anfield, so he's in charge. He oversees the whole safety thing. Now he told me that he had never been aware of my flags being there. Now these are 2.5 meter size flags, or 2.4 meters, hanging right in the center of the main stand on a match day. So, I mean, one, I don't believe him. But two, if he's telling the truth there, then that, to me, that amounts to somebody not doing their job properly, because what he's saying there is, in 7 years, as the head of safety and security at Liverpool Football Club on match days, I've never really looked at the main stand. No, it just doesn't add up, does it? So they've found one thing after another, from the nationalist thing, and then they said, oh no, it's not that, it's the size. Oh no, it's not the size, it's the fact that it's hanging up, it hasn't got a pole. They found one reason after another to say your flags aren't coming in.
Yeah. And that's how you feel, yeah.
And it feels very much like they did just decided, after I kicked up that fuss initially, no, this guy's, they decided to make an example of me.
Absolutely. I can imagine that's how it feels as well, because like I say, when it's one after another, even if it's not that from their point of view, it's easy why you think it is. You know what I mean? And I probably feel the exact same way. It must be quite annoying more than if I know you've been frustrated with it, been trying to organise this for a while. Thankfully, we've been able to get in. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we've helped shine some light on it and hopefully get it resolved, because like I say, Anfield looks better with the banners in it. I think we'd all agree. Like I say, we're sat in front of the Kop with banners on our background here, and Anfield always looks at its best when it's different, it's vibrant. So good luck. I hope it goes well. If anyone's watching from Liverpool or listening, or someone who might be able to help out with Mark, please do so as well. Just go and have a conversation. That's all Mark wants. Sit down, have a cup of tea, have a chat, and see if we can get this sorted, because we need this sorted. Everyone wants it sorted, I'd like to think. And I say, if you're one of our viewers and listeners and you want to support Mark, like I say, it's what you want to give your social media handle where people...
Yeah. So my website is handmadebanners.co.uk, and my Twitter or X is @CopCraftsman.
CopCraftsman. And like I say, do actually check out the link to this video or this podcast. Or the link in the description below this video or podcast. Click on it and you'll see the documentary that we made about Mark and some of the banners that he has made in the past. And I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And then again, that will probably provide a little bit more context as to why, if you're thinking it's just a flag, I promise you, just go and watch that. And then I assure you it's more than that. You know what I mean? It's much, much more than like the effort and everything. I mean, it took us a week to make a documentary about it. And that was like, I don't think you even finished the banner in that time. That's just the example of where we're at. So, Mark, good luck. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for sharing your story. Hopefully we can help get this resolved, because, if we can get this resolved, we would love that to happen. So, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for listening. Please continue to support Mark and all the great work he does. And yes, see you all soon.